Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a list of some fantasy books coming out in the latter half of 2020 that I think sound super interesting and I think you might think sound interesting too. I will have all the projected release dates in the description bar down below, and also in the past when I've done these kinds of videos, I have tried to read through the synopsis and then summarize it and then spit it back out to you guys, but I've realized that that's kind of stupid because some of these I've legitimately never heard anybody talk about. So when I try to summarize the summary, I might get stuff wrong because I'm dumb. So I think it would be better for everybody if I just read the synopsis to you. It's going to be more accurate, and hopefully you guys will think it sounds interesting. I know you can read synopses all on your own, but this saves you the trouble of doing it, and then hopefully you'll think some of these sound really good. There is a book that is coming out in the second half of the year that it's very obviously an anticipated release for a lot of people. I'm just going to get it out of the way now. I'm very excited for Rhythm of War, the fourth Stormlight Archive book by Brandon Sanderson. I have seen so many people starting to read this series, wanting to kind of jump on the hype train, which is really exciting. I've seen some people doing rereads, read-alongs, which I think is so cool. I will try to link some other videos dealing with Stormlight Archive down below for you. So I'll have my playlist of Sanderson stuff, but also some other channels that are building up the hype. Switching now into some books that I haven't really seen very many people talk about. The first one being Black Sun, and when I saw this one, I was looking at a couple of different websites that have some releases, and they had their brief synopsis for the story. And this one, for some reason, it's listed as Between Earth and Sky when I have looked it up, but then the title of it seems to be Black Sun. So I think the other one is actually maybe a series title, but either way, the synopsis, just a little brief one, says that it is inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas. And then the website that I saw it mentioned on, it says it's the start of a new epic fantasy trilogy inspired by ancestral Puebloan culture featuring a matriarchal society, dark magic, and what is sure to be a complex web of secrets and schemes. Roanhorse is adding to a growing canon of epic fantasy that defies expectations, and this is one that's definitely a can't miss. One thing that I am trying to do is explore and find more fantasy books that are inspired by not just European fantasy. I've always said I love European fantasy. That's never going to change, but I do want to read more fantasy inspired by other cultures and other places in the world. The next one on this list would be Skyhunter by Marie Lu, and I have informed some of you in the past, whoever watched the videos, not just some of you, but whoever has seen videos in the past where I mentioned this. I read The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu and have decided that I just want to read everything she writes now because I loved The Kingdom of Back so much, even though I know it's very different from a lot of the other books that she's written. And I haven't read any of the other books she's written, but I'm excited for this new one for her. I don't know that I'll be able to get to this book this year, and that's the case with all these anticipated releases, but there's still things I'm excited about. I'm excited to see what other people say about them if they get to them before me. But this one, I hope I can get around to it, but it says in the synopsis that it's a novel laced with adrenaline and filled with nonstop action. New York Times best-selling author Marie Lu creates an immersive world broken by war where the only hope against overwhelming evil lies with a team of young warriors willing to sacrifice everything to save what they love. The next one on this list would be Star Daughter, and the synopsis for this one says it's a debut fantasy that follows Chital, born to a mortal on Earth and a star who returned to the sky long ago. But when a flare of starfire injures her human dad, Chital will have to travel to the celestial court to get the help of a full star like her mother to heal him, and once she arrives, she must act as her family's champion in the competition to decide the next ruling house of the heavens, or risk never returning to Earth. This one, to me, sounds like we're getting the story within a story. So I feel like fantasy, you know, a good fantasy book when it has somebody telling you folklore within their world, and they're like, well, if you look at the stars, this one lady one time fell in love with this guy, and there's like this whole backstory, and they're telling the story to some other character in the story. I feel like that happens in books, and sometimes I'm like, I want that story. That sounds good. And that's what this sounds like to me. Like, it sounds like the story, the folklore story that you would get within a fantasy world, and I'm excited for it. The next one would be The Space Between Worlds. This one is a sci-fi book, and I don't read a ton of science fiction. I read far more fantasy, but this one, This one sounds really cool. It says, an outsider who can travel between worlds discovers a secret that threatens her new home and her fragile place in it, in a stunning sci-fi debut that's both a cross-dimensional adventure and a powerful examination of identity, privilege, and belonging. Next on the list would be the Blazewrath games. This one to me seems like it's middle grade, and the synopsis I think is going to be very appealing to a lot of you because it's been compared to How to Train Your Dragon, and I know a lot of you have said that that's one of your favorite movies ever. So the synopsis says that 16 countries are about to compete in the Blazewrath World Cup, a tournament where dragon riders fight for glory. Lana Torres dreams of representing her native Puerto Rico, and when their runner is kicked off the team, she gets her chance. But dragon sanctuaries around the world are being burned down in a plot to get the cup canceled, and Lana will have to navigate an international conspiracy while living out her dragon dreams. And then it goes on to compare it to How to Train Your Dragon and Quidditch, and that just seems like, for a lot of people, the perfect combo for a middle grade story. I don't read a ton of middle grade. I'm not opposed to it, but I do think that middle grade, just like with young adult, it covers such a big range of ages that sometimes it's hard to connect with depending on where you are in life and what you find charming and delightful. So for me, I definitely would like to check this one out, and I think that it's something that if you like middle grade, seems like it would be very appealing. The next one seems like it's perfect for people that like fairy tales. It's Among the Beasts and Briars. This is by Ashley Poston, who wrote Geekerella. And my husband and I did a buddy read of that at the beginning of the year for Valentine's Day in February. So if you liked her writing in that, then you might end up really liking this. I think it's cool that she's doing different genres as well. But anyway, it says that if you've been wanting a fantasy that reminds you of a classic magical Disney movie like Tangled and Beauty and the Beast, where there are high stakes but not at the expense of being both fun and effortlessly stunning, then you will want this book. Taking place in the kingdom of Aloria, peaceful and prosperous since the first king made a bargain with a lady who ruled the forest. Among the Beasts and Briars follows Ceres, the daughter of the palace gardener. When she was young, she barely escaped the forest that killed her friends and her mother, for as Aloria prospered, the woods grew cursed and dark. But the biggest threat she faces in the royal gardens is the pesky fox, who won't leave her alone. That changes when a new queen, Ceres' best friend Anwin, is crowned. Things that had been hidden in the woods emerge, and Ceres is forced on the run alongside the pesky fox. And now it's up to the two of them, with the help of a strange and powerful bear, to find the Lady of the Wilds and save her home. That sounds delightful. That sounds so fun. It sounds like a charming little fairy tale. I just think it sounds so cute. It seems like a really good book to pick up for me and my taste. It seems like a good book to pick up, I don't know, after like a grimdark story or something. Last on this list would be Legendborn, and I just want to make a note about the cover really quick, because for those of you that really like this cover art, I have seen this book discussed a little bit in anticipated releases in the past. So if you like this cover art, I highly recommend following Sandra Winther Art on Instagram, because it looks very magical and colorful, a lot like this cover. It reminds me of it quite a bit, and I love that artist's works. So if you like this cover art, I would go follow that person. Anyway, the synopsis for this one says, during Bree's very first night on campus for a residential program for high schoolers, she witnesses a flying demon feeding on human energies. Of course, if the teenage mage who attempted to wipe Bree's memory had succeeded, she wouldn't remember any of this. But instead of erasing her memory, it unlocks Bree's own magic and reveals a hidden connection between the teenage mage and someone who was at the hospital the night her mother died. Determined to find out what really happened to her mother, she decides to infiltrate the Legendborn, descendants of King Arthur and his knights, as an initiate, deciding how far she'll go for the truth. I'm pretty much never opposed to a good King Arthur retelling, so I'm super excited about this one. That is it for some anticipated releases for the second half of the year. I will have the release dates that I have seen for all of these in the description bar down below. Of course, sometimes those change. But anyway, let me know what some of your anticipated releases are for the second half of the year. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.